Hey, what's up guys, it's T-Bone here and welcome back to another episode of playing Legendary Game of Heroes. So today I'm going to talk about the upcoming event, Reunited in Darkness. This is a light Slayer event, and like the previous Slayer events now, they've introduced a deck that is powerful and I would consider to be in the S tier just based on the stats alone. Now, a quick reminder, an S tier is basically a deck of cards that has the potential to generate at least a full board of Power Gem 1s or higher and produce the type of damage output from that. And so based on the stats of this particular set of cards, it does fall into that. But I do want to take a minute and talk about the difference between this and some of the typical intensity power decks that we've seen in the past. So let's take a look at the cards first. The first one is the event card, and that is the Lustrous one. The free card that you'll get is Tilok. The ultra rare is the Golden Guardian, and the ultra rare card is the Anagavi. So let's talk about what I mean when I say the difference between this deck and some of the previous intensity power decks that we've seen. And I'm going to go in more detail with the cards here as well, but I just wanted to sort of show you what I've done here. So I've been collecting data for some of the decks here. This is not complete. I'm just using 3 right now to illustrate a point. But what you're seeing here is the relationship between the number of power gems that you need to create to fill up an entire board and the intensity that is required to get you there. And so if we take a look, there's a Halloween deck, Alexa deck, and Lustrous, which is the current event deck. So 2 ultra rares is probably going to be a minimum requirement almost to really sort of get to the kind of damage that you're looking for intensity powered decks. You can get more, and you can definitely go with 1, but obviously if you have just 1, then the intensity requirement goes up. So you can see here if you use this drop down here to change, you can see that with 1 ultra rare, your intensity requirement does go up by quite a bit, and so it just there's a difference there. So that's why with two ultra rare cards is really sort of a happy medium, and obviously the more you have, the easier time you'll have because the less intensity requirement is there. Now let's take a look at the general case where I'm saying 2 ultra rare cards, what is the requirement? And you can see with a Halloween deck, which is red here, the intensity that's required is 180. Now compare that to Alexa deck, the intensity that's required is 270. The reason that that's the case is because with 2 ultra rares, you need to have 18 power gems, and Alexa has a requirement of 15 intensity to generate 1 power gem, whereas Halloween only has 10. I'm not even including Vascor in here because it only has 8. I'm just saying let's just compare using ultra rare. Now this event deck, on the other hand, has a very interesting property. So you notice that there's a little flat line here, and that's because even with 0 intensity, you're guaranteed to have 2 power gems. Okay, so you start from there, but then the intensity requirement goes significantly higher. And if you wanted to have a full board of gems using 2 ultra rare cards, you are looking at, let me just make sure that I scroll here. You're looking at 1600 intensity to get a full board of gems. Now, there is a difference here because with this particular deck, you're looking at not just Power Gem 1s, you're looking at Power Gem 3s with the ultra rare. So obviously you're not going to really need to fill a whole board, but if you kind of take a look, like if you just wanted to have 10 Power Gems on the board, you still need to have a required 800 intensity with 2 ultra rare cards to get 10 power gems each. And so really what you were looking for is if you want to drop it down to 5 per ultra rare card, then you are going to be going to require, this is 7, so you're looking at 500, and I think to get 5 you're looking at 300 intensity. So there's really, yeah, you can see here 5 power gems. So basically with each ultra rare card creating 5 power gems, you are looking at 300 intensity in order to get there. And so the intensity requirement is pretty high. Now let's take a look at the cards themselves now. We'll wait for the screen to load. And so that kind of illustrates the difference here. Because they've increased the power gems that you can create, they've really upped the intensity there. And as a result of that, you're going to need more turns to get that intensity. And so it's going to be a lot slower. So that's something to keep in mind. So then just quickly going through some of these cards and my thoughts here. I want to make sure I'm using 6-star talk about this. So here's the free card you can get, and it's really nothing special. You get immunity for the damage, and you get the passive that creates that increases the god intensity by 5. These kind of cards are definitely required in order to make this deck work. But then this is the card that does really nothing for you as a whole, because all it does for a battle skill is it gives you immunity for 1 turn with a 7-turn cooldown. It's the same as any other cards that provide immunity. And honestly, for me, I'm not really, I'm not really excited by these cards. Okay, so it to me, this is really a card that has no other purpose than to add a bit more intensity to the deck to make it work. I wish that they would give it a bit different, a little bit different battle skill, but that's the way it is right now. The Lustrous one, however, the event card, I think is actually pretty good. So there's a couple of things that it does here. And again, I want to go back and take a look at the 6 card stats. So this is an event card that typically, does 1 or 2 things, but this one actually will give you 5 light gems and increase the attack of your god heroes by 1% for every 5 god intensity, and then but it does only give you up to 50% maximum. So it doesn't give you an unlimited increase in your attack. It gives you a 50% boost, but it will last 2 turns, and I believe it'll stack. So if you have more than 1, then you can stack the 50%. So I think you can it's additive. So you can basically, if you have 2 of them, then you can go up to 100% of your attack. So you can basically double your attack once your intensity goes high. There's also a passive here where every time you attack, you're generating 5 stacks of god intensity. So if you notice here, because they recognize the intensity requirement is high, they're adding cards that also will give you intensity. So this one is through attack, and then Tilak is through the passive. So it's kind of like Freya. Freya, if you one of the older water cards, every time you attack, it gives you additional intensity. It's the same thing here. Now the ultra rare card that we talked about, the Golden Guardian. See here, I don't have the stats for 6 stars, so it's hard to really say what it is. I made an assumption with my previous graph that uses 100 intensity, because I expect that at 6 stars, it might go down to 100 intensity, whereas right now, it will give you 2 light power gem 3s plus 1 additional per 125. Okay, so that's why I kind of made that assumption that it might be 100. We'll see what that is really going to be like when the event starts. It does only have a 3-turn cooldown, so that's good. It's not very long. Alexa deck that uses Sophia, the architect, has a 7-turn cooldown after you've created the power gem. So this is a lot better in this case. Taking a look at the counter skills, this will dispel zombie. So zombie will attack every time you try to heal. And the Lustrous one, the main one, will dispel weaken, which is going to be what the guild boss, the main guild boss will cast. And then Tilak will actually dispel panic, which is not that big of a deal here. Now, if we take a look at the ultra rare card, Anagavi, she is a little bit powered up in that she'll create 2 light power gem 4s plus an additional for 75 god intensity. So if you get the ultra rare as well, then you'll require less intensity, but it's still slow. It's still 75 compared to 10 and 15 of the other decks. Now, the card that I'm very excited about is Aladdin. I've been looking for this card for a very long time, and I haven't been able to get him, and so I'm looking forward to getting him through the event collection card. This card does do the following. It'll give you 1 light power gem 2, 3 at 6 stars, and if you have less than 100%, it'll double the effect. And this is a passive healer. It heals for 5% of your maximum HP every turn. So if you're looking to, and I have a light deck that I like to use, so I've been looking forward to using Aladdin to boost him up. So this is definitely a card I'm chasing after. Now, what I want to do is also something a little different than what I've been doing in the previous videos, where I want to try and showcase some deck for every time I'm playing. And so this time there was a request to showcase the Gladia deck, or actually it was to showcase the previous Dark event deck, but since I don't have that deck, I'm using this one, which is very similar. I have 3 relics here, and the gameplay is exactly the same. So I'm just going to use this showcase how to maximize your damage. And to do that, one of the things I'm going to do is to change my defender a little bit so that I don't end up getting one shot here. I'm going to just change it up because it's already locked in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a much weaker card so that what I can do is I can build up my intensity and not worry about dying. And let's see, can I maybe use a... let's just throw in Freya here and let's just see. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to practice against myself using this deck just so that I could actually talk about the strategy here. So let's go ahead and practice against this defender. And let's see, 5.7. So let's see, if this doesn't work, I'll drop it down a little bit more. So with this type of deck, what you want to do is you want to have one of two setups. Right now I have 2 Domi, 2 of the gem creators, and another option is to have 3 of them actually, so that you can get more gems quickly. So it depends on what your goals are. So the first thing you want to do is you want to try and maximize the number of gems that you have remaining at the end of your turn. So I actually don't try to use up all of my gems so that I have enough to create more. And then what you do is go ahead and use this opportunity to just do quick matches and avoid having your red gems match each other. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this and just kind of move my gems out of the way. And then what you'll see is once it hits 8 gems or higher, then the number of then your relics will kick in, and you can see more gems are getting spawned. And right now my intensity is at 120, and that's perfect because right now nothing is matching, and the goal is to get to about 150 intensity with this deck before you activate the other cards. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move my gems so that I remove potential for the cards for the gems to match. And now I have a good set of power gems, and you can count the number of power gems you have. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4. So you have 5 power gem 4s and 5 power gem 3s, and also 6 power gem 1s. This is sort of, I guess, the maximum I can get without any of the power gems matching. And at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and use up my 2 Domis, which fills up the board. And then after you've done that, make sure you activate your ultra rare and ultra rare to increase your damage potential, and then try and do a match swap of the gems, in this case the 2 power 4 gems. And if you can do this, then you're going to maximize your combo and also your overall attack. So this is basically the one of the strategies here. Another thing that you can do is, I'm just going to change this card up real quick. I talked about also using 3 gem spawners instead of 2, and you can do this as well. So let's go ahead and battle here. This one is a little bit different in that if you wanted to have your attack really quickly, you want to try and maximize the number of gems as soon as possible. You want to try and do this in 2 turns or 3. And so what you want to do here is same thing. You want to make sure to at least create a power gem and not utilize too many of your gems that are already on the board. So you save some up here so that you can increase the total number of gems that are on the board. And so here, if I just wait, I'll see all the power gems kind of get spawned here. I could afford 1 turn here, so I'm just going to add 1 turn. And then at this point, I'm going to go ahead and use all of my battle skills. And you can see that the board will be filled up after turn 2, or close to being filled up. And then I'll go ahead and use my battle skills for my ultra rare and ultra rare cards. And you can see that the number of the multiplier count is lower, but I still can deal pretty good damage there. So this is sort of the way to play this deck. There's a couple of variations here, but this is generally the style here. And so hopefully this answers questions. This was a specific question from one of the comments in one of my videos, so I appreciate that. Thanks for your feedback. And again, I think this is going to be something fun. If you have any ideas or any questions, if you have decks that you'd like for me to try out, if I have it, I'll definitely play with it and I'll give my take and my view on it. But I'm interested to see what you run with. Like, I would love to try out the cards that you play with and just kind of see how it goes. So anyways, hopefully this has been helpful for you so far in at least evaluating the strength of the deck. Personally, I'll sign off with this. This card is going to be available in the VIP pack at tier 6. And even if you have just one of these cards, and I'm really hoping to get Aladdin as well, you could use this card to try and take down some of the more powerful bosses that, more the guild bosses, because you can actually create a lot of power gem 3s. And also, if you get some power gems, you can some relics that create power gems, you can really deal a lot of really good damage here. It'll take a long time, but if you're not rushing against, if you're not trying to win against, the clock against other people, like getting MVP or something, this actually might not be a bad card to have, because there hasn't been a card that generates this many power gem 3s by itself. And of course, if you can get the ultra rare card to go with it, obviously you have a much easier time. For me though, as you can see, I don't have any of the cards available here to collect the times 13, so it's going to be a hard sell for me to try and chase after that. But I think that, I might evaluate to see whether I'll go after go after this one, just so that I can have this one card that creates the power gem 3s for me. But honestly, I kind of want to also put a tale of caution here. I still think that overall the game can get way too expensive if you're not careful about what you choose to go with. I'm trying to be objective with the strength of the decks here, but honestly, I think that this particular deck, it can be very expensive, especially if you're starting out, because all of the cards here are older cards. I don't expect you to have them. You're going to end up spending a lot of money just to try and chase after the times 13 here. What I would recommend is, if you have VIP already and you have enough gems to go to tier 6, then maybe you should get that. But aside from that, I would say take a look, wait and see how this actually works out, because remember, this will be a very slow deck to get to the power where you expect it to. And so I think that this is something that I just want to make sure that you aren't chasing after this and getting too disappointed with it and end up spending a lot of money. So anyways, that's all for today's video. Thanks for taking the time to watch, and we'll see what happens after the event starts, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Take care.